let's put timing into practice. Now guys, I'm going to show you specifically on how we are going to use the timing in our advantage. As we've learned so far in the theory, it is super relevant for our trading as we can anticipate so many potential movements just because we understand that the time is manipulated. Now we're going to go over here over a couple of examples, okay? So you can see right now already on my charts, I got the Asia session liquidity. And to be honest, this is the only session that I want to see illustrated on my charts because this is how I get started. I start my day always trading the Frankfurt or the London session. It depends. Sometimes I like to trade both. Sometimes I want to trade only the London session, so I do not even look at the charts only around 15 minutes before the session begins. I'm here to see what price has given me so far, and then I'm just going to analyze that, and then I'm going to make my decision based on price action that we have, based on all the concepts that we have. And of course, timing is also a concept, okay? People just like to forget this aspect. They always think, okay, we got sessions, but they do not really understand the characteristics, and then they forget about it and they just look on every single OB to enter, or they just look on every single structure break to enter, and so on. But the truth is, you need to use timing as well, but also not in a way where you are expecting, just because you've heard it right now from my side, that that the Asia session is always going to get swept. That it's not the point. Like I said, sometimes it will get, sometimes not. So also here, this concept is not made to give you 100% the right direction on what price will do, but sessions will definitely give you a big advantage to understand where the price is about to go. And this is a very huge advantage if you know how to use it properly. So I'm going to start here right now with this chart, and this is already one of my favorite examples. What we can see here, we got very beautiful the Asia session liquidity. I like to use an indicator for that. You can do that by yourself. You can just map it out. I did it for a very long time. I always mapped it out by myself, but here I got the indicator where I even map out the Asia midline, because it is sometimes relevant, but of course not always. Okay, the Asia midline, I would say from all timing perspectives, is the most irrelevant one. The most relevant are always the highs and the lows. And you can see it already how the highs and the lows got already swapped, because that's what we can expect, for instance, depending on where we are. But right now, just if we look and see, okay, price is bullish, right? It's moving up. You can see already the session ends, and then Frankfurt starts with this push down. Okay, so it started to react somewhere here to the left from this OB. It started to bring the price all the way to the downside. So you can already see here there is some form of liquidity in between. Price uses liquidity, came above the Asia midline. Okay, so it came all the way to the Asia high, which was considered at that point protective, as this was a total valid PY to go for. And that's exactly what the price did. Price went then down lower, and it hunted the low of the Asia, and it tapped into a level of demand right here, which was exactly laying below the Asia low. And then from here, London started this push up. So I can illustrate it now to you. You can go here to settings, and then you can see, like, okay, Frankfurt session. You can see clean that Frankfurt in reality pushed price all the way back down. Then if I open up London, you can see London made the push to the upside. Okay, so this is right now not the complete London session. This is right now just the London session kill zone. So that's what I use, because I only trade maximum till 11 o'clock. That's for me my London kill zone. Afterwards, of course, it is also possible to trade. It is just not my prime time anymore. So it will depend on the specific situation that we have. and I'm not interested in that, because I always expect in the London kill zone that price will do a move, and afterwards price will make a pullback and then continue that move, or it will totally reverse it, like in this case, for instance. So you can see clearly London kill zone ended afterwards, and it just started to make a crazy push all the way to the downside. So let's just let the London here, and let's open up the New York to see how the New York started. And the New York was pretty nice. It has seen strong push from the London session. It came all the way down into a level of demand, okay? And then we can see how the kill zone of the London's opening, okay, so you got the opening, price is pushing, and then specifically it started to go up higher to make a pullback based on this strong bearish London movement, okay? So that's what we can also expect, right? If you got on the London, in the London session, strong move down, and then the New York is coming in, what you can expect is that the price could make a pullback and then continue to go lower, or it makes, the whole day a pullback because the movement was already so crazy. So it will just go to the next target. And then the day is already over, okay? So you can see how nice they make here the play, right? Specifically, if you see how nice Frankfurt liquidated first the low of the Asia session, which means this low cannot be targeted anymore, but in fact, the Frankfurt low can be targeted. Why not? Frankfurt low can be liquidity, but it doesn't need to be liquidity, same as the Asia session liquidity. But then Frankfurt made the push up, liquidated a high, and then there was so much liquidity available that they just cracked all the way back down, because then they just literally hunted this and all the liquidity that was available here, and then they came into an OB, and then it started to make the pullback. So let's just go on the next day. Next day again, we got Asia session liquidity, and the Frankfurt session already starts, this 1 hour in between already starts to liquidate the high. So the Frankfurt session just started at the area of price where they already, came into an OB and all these things. They came here into something, and then the Frankfurt opening doesn't need to come up higher because price is already higher than the Asia session high. So it already took a ton of liquidity. Just a quick reminder why the Asia session highs and lows are so relevant, or why price wants to go up there or down there, is very easy, because every Asian trader, right, and also the banks and so on, everybody who thought about, okay, here I'm going to go short, here I'm going to go short, here I'm going to go short, everybody is liquidated at the Asia high if price will surpass that level, and the same as on the low. So this is why you get at these points the majority of the traders out of the market, and that's exactly what they're aiming for, and that's exactly why price is doing this. And then you can see Frankfurt is then just starting to push it all the way back down, and in this case it was protective. Okay, so you got a demand zone, so the Asia low was protective at these points, and then it started to give you a pullback, but only to come then into the supply area to continue then the bearish order flow from here. So you can see pretty nice. You got here your bearish order flow at these points. Okay, boom. Price is then moving crazy down, because here price already tapped multiple times, right? Even considering this as additional liquidity, so of course it will go down. So you can see it is not always necessary to only trade during these London kill zones, but you can see that during the London kill zones, there's always one trade possible, right? So here, one move up, right? But then afterwards, the same. You got another movement, even in this case, a stronger one. So this is not always the same, right? Sometimes we have this scenario, sometimes we have another one. And then the same. Price is moving down. And what is the New York doing? Well, it's reversing. It found here some form of demand. or not even demand. In this case, it just took out liquidity, so that is not even a valid demand, of course. Price is taking the liquidity, pushing up higher to hunt the high one more time of everything, and then it's making a pullback. And then we have another day. In this day, very interesting, in this day, the Asia midline works out pretty good. You can see. So in this case, you can see it already. Does it make sense now to come all the way back down? Well, actually, no. Why? In the first place, the low is already protected as price really mitigates something. You can also see that we went higher, right? So we swept here something. Here to the left, we do not have any kind of relevant OBs anymore because it got mitigated here. And in this, with this up move from the New York session, we did took out the supply zone and so on. So price, of course, it gave you a reaction because it will always give you a reaction. But afterwards, we need to understand that price started to move up, right? During the Asia session, we went up higher, right? So you got here a break. So we went up higher. The low is protective. And here to the downside, you do not really have a valid demand area anymore. Okay, this is everything efficient, so you don't have here any imbalances to get filled in. So price more than likely will not come to these areas. If we do not have imbalance, then why should the bank or the algo initiate it to drop down? So also the banks had already mitigated their positions and they're ready for the up move. Now you could say, why not using this OB for instance here? Well, you're not interested in this OB right now, as you can see that price is not in that context anymore. So you can see already price broke this, went up higher and so on, and then it broke even this one. So from where did this break come? Well, from here, right? So price pushed it up. So somewhere in this range is where you should look for your entries. And you can see perfectly how the session is doing the same, because this Asia session low mitigated here this one to the left, and then it started to push up just crazy up higher. And then you just need to understand, okay, well, I do not have here a valid demand anymore, so what could price do? Well, you then see your Asia midline, and you see at your Asia midline that you have in fact a level of demand, and this is exactly where price wants to go, and from there it's just taking off. Very, very beautiful. Then price is pushing. In this case, it started earlier on than the Frankfurt session. Sometimes that is the case. Okay, so it's not always perfect, guys. That can be an advantage or disadvantage sometimes. But in most of the cases, it will be an advantage because you will always get your entries at some point. Okay, so we can see here already Frankfurt still gave you the option to get involved into this trade. Why? Well, you got here another demand zone after price went up higher, after it broke this. And because everything was here already mitigated, you got bullish order flow. So price in reality wants to go somewhere higher. And then you can just enter here on the next laying OB that you can see, which is relevant. And you can make the big push to the upside. Frankfurt, London is doing the same, is continue a little bit the trend, but then it's going already down to liquidate something and then to go up higher. And again, it's liquidating the kill zone session, which is right now not really relevant. But then you can see very nice. New York is then continue the uptrend as it is also possible. So not always something different. Here, another pretty nice example, Asia session. You can see perfectly Frankfurt hunted the high of it, and then it continued with the London and London continued to drop down to hunt everything, the low of Frankfurt. So Frankfurt more than likely was the trap, right? So many people will not consider this as a trap is because they do not see these things, but you can see they're initiated here a strong move up because they wanted to liquidate here to mitigate something and then to drop crazy down, right? And then you can see New York continue the trend. Pretty nice. Here during the kill zone, that was the entry, right? Price pushed down into the supply zone here, and you go crazy down. Then, next trade, Asia session liquidity, and you can see price is then protecting the high. And you can see perfectly, in this case, there is no trap, nothing. People would say this is maybe a trap, but look at this. Frankfurt making a move down, then London is continuing the move down, and then even the New York session is continuing the move down. So pretty nice example. Then here, one more time. Asia, high and low, are going to get swept. Frankfurt sweeping the low, and London sweeping the high, and then continue with the New York session to go down. So right now, guys, very important is to go in your charts and to just practice these examples, because you can see there are so many scenarios. You just need to start to get a feeling about what price is about to do for the day, and then you see everything is super easy. See you then, guys, in the next video.